Hi everyone, today I am sharing tips on how to make time for more reading. Reading is one of the greatest joys in my life. I absolutely love reading. I love getting lost in a book. I love finding myself in characters in the book and I'm like, oh my God, that is me. Here I go. I'm part of this story, although I'm not. But I absolutely love reading, and for that reason I want all of you to join me on this journey. And I know there is a lot of people out there who would love to get more reading done, so I have come up with 7 tips that will hopefully, fingers crossed, help you read at least 1 book a month. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Tip number 1 that I've got for you is you have to choose reading. Hear me out. Unfortunately, reading will not choose you. A book will not just come to you. You have to subconsciously choose reading. You have to make it part of your routine. You have to make it part of you. For example, you know people that exercise and eat healthy, they always say that it's a journey and it's a choice that they make every day to move their body, to eat healthy, to pick up an apple instead of a biscuit. It's exactly the same with reading. Tip number 2 is read first thing in the morning or before you go to bed. This is not for everybody. Some people prefer reading in the morning and some people prefer reading in the night. I am an early riser. I get up very early in the morning. I'm usually up between the hours of 6 a.m. and it's winter here in London, so it's pretty dark right now. When I get up that early in the morning, I don't really like watching TV first thing in the morning or going on my phone and checking social media, because there is just depression there. There is just stress in that world and I don't really like that. So I prefer picking up a book. I usually, if I have more time on my hands, I'll read in my bed. Or if I don't have a lot of time, I'll usually get ready and read over breakfast. I love reading over breakfast. Find what works for you and stick to that. I do love reading before going to bed because it saves me from scrolling on my phone on social media. I rather read a book and unwind properly. So find where you fit, if you have more energy in the morning or if you have more energy in the night. So choose what works for you. Tip number 3 is don't leave the house without having read a material. I know I am talking about books here, but reading can honestly mean anything. You know, you might be a person who enjoys reading articles. You might want to read about life, love, relationships. If you're a parent, you might want to read about being a parent. Whatever articles that you enjoy reading, read those. Or you might be a person who enjoys reading newspapers. I personally do not enjoy reading newspapers. I don't read newspapers. I don't even watch news because I find it very stressful and very depressing. So I stay away from that world. But if you are that person who likes that world, then maybe you might want to read a newspaper in the morning or you might want to read a magazine. The aim is to actually get into a habit of reading something before you leave the house. See? Because once it becomes a habit, it becomes part of you. So that is the aim here. Don't leave the house without having read a material. Tip number 4 is start or join a book club. Guys, this is honestly the best way to start reading, to actually read at least 1 book a month. You can start a book club with your friends, with family members, or even your co-workers at work. There is a lot of people who would love to get more reading done, but they just don't know where to start. So if you start a book club or join a book club, you will definitely be held accountable for reading at least 1 book a month. So that is already ticked off. You have already read 1 book a month without even having to stress about it. Sometimes you don't even have to stress about choosing the book because the book club chooses the book for you. So, you know, it's a win-win situation. So definitely start a book club or join a book club. I love this tip. Tip number 5 is set reading goals. This is not for everybody. Not everybody likes setting goals in general. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a person who used to set goals. I only started being a person that sets goals about, I would say, about 3 years ago or so. That was around the time I got into personal growth, personal development, inspiration, basically that world where you are encouraged to set goals. And it actually does work, and it actually does help. So you might want to start with, I don't know, maybe setting a goal of how many books you want to read a year. Maybe you might say, throughout the whole year, I'm going to read 12 books, which means you're reading 1 book a month, and that is amazing. Or you might say a month, you want to read 1 book or 2 books. You know, you never know, whichever works for you. Or you might go as detailed as saying how many pages you want to read a day. So you can be like that. You know, you can do year, month, day, whatever works for you. Definitely set reading goals. I find that this really does help me. It holds me accountable. I know what goal I'm going for. I know what I'm planning. Last year, I'm not gonna lie, I was in a very, very reading slump where I was like, you know what? I got into this habit where I would start books and actually not finish them. That's how bad my reading slump was. But I was still listening to audibles because I can't live without actually reading a book. So I was still listening to audibles, but I was just not physically reading books. I was just starting them and not finishing them. So for that reason, I have lots of books. I have lots of books that I've started but haven't finished. So, and what I did was last year, I set a goal for myself. I said, you know what? I am going to read 15 books. 15 books this year in 2020. I was like, I'm going to read 15 books in 2020 because I was in such a bad place where I think I didn't have enough time to read, or I was just not making it a priority for myself. I don't know what I was going on. Life was just a mess. And yes, I was like, I'm going to read 15 books in 2020, but I've actually passed 15 books. You know, you never know what happens. So just set some goals for yourself and see what works for you. Tip number 6 is read books you actually enjoy. I have actually already talked about this tip before in one of my other videos, which I'll link down below. Read books that you actually enjoy. This is so important if you want to read more, because books are basically like movies. If you are watching a movie that you absolutely enjoy, you would want to finish that movie. It's exactly like TV shows. If you're watching a TV show that's addictive, you'd want to finish that TV show. It's exactly the same as books. If you're reading a book that you absolutely enjoy, you would want to know how it ends, what happens next. The only struggle is starting that book. But I promise you, once you start it and you get through the starting process and you start enjoying it, you would want to finish that book. Tip number 7, which is the last one, is block out some reading time in your calendar. This is so crucial because I know there are people out there who follow their calendars hour to seconds and they follow it like that. So if you block out time in your calendar, or even where you put, okay, maybe let's say 9 o'clock, from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock is reading. It's a reading hour. And you're like, that is my time to dedicate to reading. You would definitely get it done because it's on your to-do list, it's on your calendar, so you feel guilty when you haven't actually done it. I do that sometimes, to be quite honest. I'm always like, okay, read a book, because I'm a to-do list girl. I write everything down and I'm like, okay, I've got to do this today, I've got to do this today, and I'm always like, okay, read a book today, or listen to an audible, or, you know, go for a walk. And if I see that I haven't read a book on my to-do list, I'm like, girl, what happened? What happened? You need to do some reading. So definitely block out some time on your calendar for reading. Dedicate that time to reading, and you will definitely 100% start reading without even you knowing it. Just do everything that you can to pick yourself up and start reading. I promise you, once you get into it and you're enjoying the book that you're reading, you will not regret it. But obviously, as I always say, reading is not for everybody, and if it's not for you, then that's absolutely fine. Find what it is for you and what works for you. This video is actually for those of you who want to find more time for reading. So I hope these tips have actually helped you. Maybe you have at least picked up one tip that is gonna work for you. And yeah, I wish you well on your reading journey, and you can read and we can have a chat about it in the comments down below. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you all in my next one. Lots of love. Mwah. Bye.